Hello, and welcome to the ECR Retail Loss, Sell More and Lose Less podcast series. My name is Colin Peacock. I've worked in the retail and FMCG business for more than 40 years, working on the dark side of retail on retail loss at every point in the supply chain. Susanne Guth-Orlowski of the RAIN Alliance, who really joined us in our RFID meeting, which was hosted by CNA in, October. And we will bring some highlights from that meeting. But first, Susanne, who are you?
Yes, thank you, Colin. Thanks for inviting me, first of all. I am Susanne Guth-Orlowski. I'm the DPP specialist of the RAIN Alliance. That's the role in which I am here today. And why does the RAIN Alliance need a digital product passport specialist? Well, because we have the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulation coming up that mandates a digital product passport. And RAIN is one of the accepted data carriers for digital product passports and has, a lot of advantages as a data carrier, such as, it can be read at long distances or mass reading, reading without line of sight and without light. And this is how I ended up in your wonderful event in Düsseldorf in October, being able to hear from the end users, what they're working with, what they're struggling with, and maybe how the RAIN technology can help them move forward.
Well, thank you. Yes, and I really enjoyed your company and your participation in Düsseldorf. You were very energetic, very passionate, and always, had some contribution to make, which was positive. So thank you for that. And I'm really looking forward to your thoughts in terms of what some of the takeaways were. But just for those who were not in Düsseldorf, it was a meeting of about 70 of us. It was hosted by CNA, who have a global program. The people who came along were from heads of RFID for companies that have been doing RFID, like Decathlon, for 20 years perhaps, and those just like Dunelm, for example, just about to get on the train of RFID, and everyone in between. And we had a chance to go to visit stores and see what was in the stores. We had a chance to hear from Qualcomm and how the next evolution of RFID will be readers in everyone's mobile phones. I mean, that's quite some way away, but certainly handheld devices like Zebras that we have in the stores. And then we had 4 startups, all pitching different ideas, from overhead readers to sustainable tags. And then we had burgers, a few of them. I think we didn't order enough burgers. But anyway, they were very enjoyable at a local place. And that was a really good chance for us to connect. And the next day we had roundtable discussions around, we had the new head of RFID for Primark talk about the do's and the don'ts and how to get launched. We had a deep dive into the data. We had discussions around DPP, as you rightly point out, the business case, and generally explored. And that was kind of the end of it. So it was a sort of like 2 days spread over a sort of Wednesday and a Thursday, but very, very good, and certainly got lots of positive feedback from it. But what were your sort of takeaways? It was the first time you've been with us, actually. But what were some of your takeaways and maybe some of the topics that perhaps interested you most?
Yeah, so I thought it was a really energetic meeting. I was absolutely surprised how open everyone was, because obviously also competitors have been in the room. But because of how you did set it up, Colin, it was a real safe environment for only peers. So there was no noise from other people that were trying to sell solutions, for example, or, were in a different part of the supply chain. So I think everyone felt very safe and comfortable to talk about their RAIN deployments. And it was nice to see how everyone was actually struggling with the same things and how they could exchange on those topics and how they solved problems that they found. It was also interesting to see that everyone was implementing the RAIN technology in a little different way. So one yeah, the one we're using it for this use case, and then the other one for another use case. And then they all had a little bit of different approaches. I thought that was also very interesting.
Well, yeah, for example, as you say, do you count every single day using an overhead reader, or every 15 minutes using an overhead reader,
Yeah,
or do you do it every 3 weeks? And so that frequency
exactly. Yeah,
and
and
how you
where
do
do
it
you
with,
put them? Where do you put the readers? What power does the reader has? When do they read? In which room do they read? When is the transit from stock to the store and stuff like that? It was super interesting, especially also when we went through CNA and they explained where the readers were, and others were super interesting where they would read and
well,
what would end up in the system and stuff like that.
yeah, 2 points. Yeah, first of all, the self-checkout, the front end, that seemed to be, there are 2 or 3 retailers who are doing, self-checkout. So you just put it in the bucket. So that's where you put some readers. But just going back to your original point, I think you hadn't been at previous meetings. I think we were like 25% up in terms of the number of retailers registered. And so we had 30 or 40 different retailers attending, which is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you really get a sense, certainly in the fashion, apparel, sports, maybe moving into home, there was a real energy around RFID, and I'm sure it's linked to productivity. I'm sure it's linked to e-commerce and the need for more accurate inventory. But yeah, no, good point about the different use cases as well.
Yeah. And then I thought that it was really nice that people could learn from others that are either more advanced or use the RAIN RFID technology in a different area. And it was super inspiring to see some of the participants being so far ahead and doing things with the technology that others wouldn't have even imagined that this is possible. But they started like 5 to 10 years ago even. So everyone also could see the potential of what's possible. And then that new use cases came up all the time. For example, what I found fascinating is that with the RAIN RFID, you can control the security mechanism at the doors to see if an item had already been paid. Then you can go through the door, and if it hadn't been paid, the alarm would go off. So use cases like this where others thought, okay, yeah, actually we can build that into our security system as well. So that was
You're
really
right.
inspiring and energetic.
Yeah, it was that sort of like we might actually know how much we're losing to, as one retailer used to call them, non-paying customers. Um,
Mhm.
but going back to the use cases, I mean, the fascinating area was the whole Qualcomm debate, when they introduced them, and then it seemed like there was a third of the room when they were presented with, eventually consumers will be able to use their smartphone to be able to read RFID. A sort of third of the room sort of went into that's brilliant. Can you? I think you were in this third. Can you imagine how this is going to be amazing value for the consumer? There's another third that sort of said, well, the read range is going to be quite small. It's not really that practical for retailers. And there's third sort of like, well, we've heard about this for a while. I'll believe it when I see it, sort of thing. What was your take of that? It was a really fascinating one for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved in the early discussions bringing RAIN RFID to the mobile. So for me, what Qualcomm presented was already known. I do see the potential, absolutely. And I believe that many people did as well. And it started them off thinking about what they could do. So you could see through the 2 days, new ideas evolving with what this could bring to the market and what new use cases they could do. For example, you bring your tires to the winter break to your garage, and then if you get them back, are these actually your tires or things like that? So the new use cases came up all the time
Yeah, we heard about
with
the
the
sports bag.
idea,
Yeah,
yeah,
this,
from
the
the
sports
mobile,
bag. Check everything you've got,
yeah.
all your equipment in the sports bag. Yeah, I know where that's going to go. Yeah, so yeah, that was fascinating. What else did you pick up?
I think that was actually mostly it. So the new use cases that everyone came up with. and the extensive learning that we could do, especially also how you did set up the program, to be honest, to have people that are more advanced speak about their experience, and then have others that just started learn from them. I thought that was really inspiring. Also, the startups that came in were energizing and inspiring.
Yeah, I was particularly taken by one of the startups that talked to, and we saw this with CNA as well, just the amount of data that's now available to retailers from RFID. You know, we had River Island talk about they had about sort of, I don't know, 11 different read points, you know, in the store, and reading millions of items every day. And then that's just one store, and then you've got, you know, 500 stores, whatever. Then you've got distribution centers, then you've got factories. The amount of data that could be generated here is beyond the reach of any human to be able to look at it and make sense. And so we had that one startup sort of say, well, I've got some ideas about how to use AI to try to make sense of this. I thought that was a really quite you know, inspiring session. I know that several retailers took some next steps around that space. But hey, we're doing it all again this year in Madrid, and we're tying in with your conference on the 29th and 30th and the 1st of October, 29th, 30th of September and the 1st of October. So we're looking forward a lot to that, and we shall see you in Madrid. I know that we'll have probably another 25% more retailers because we're working together. So it should be a big meeting, and we'll have a retailer hosting it, some keynote talks, more innovations, startups, and hopefully that same collaborative approach. So we'll look forward to seeing you there, Susanne. Thanks for taking time this morning to share with us your highlights from this year. And again, thank you for joining, because you really were a very positive contributor, and it was a pleasure having you as part of the group.
Thank you so much, Colin, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Madrid again to meet this inspiring and energetic industry.
Brilliant. See you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to all the ECR Retail Loss community for the sharing of their knowledge, their research and latest learnings that ensure that we become truly a global platform for learning. My name is Colin Peacock. This is the Sell More and Lose Less podcast, and if you liked it, please subscribe so you automatically get all future episodes. And also, if you think your colleagues and friends might also like it, please ask them to follow ECR Retail Loss on LinkedIn and tune in to our next podcasts. If you didn't like it, then let us know and we'll try and fix it. Either way, see you next time. Thank you again.